Welcome, everyone, to the Power of Possibilities. Today, we are talking all about relaxation and how much of your relaxation is impacted by the unseen world around you.
I love the graphic for this and the little green guy. It's so adorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the write up today, like one of the things we teach, even in like the very basic foundation class, in the bars class, is like 98% of what you're aware of are other things like people's or things, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So, really, 98% of things are possibly affecting your body's ability to relax and be at ease. And that's what today is all about, talking about that and maybe a tool or a clearing or two to help out and create more ease for the body and the being.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean that's one of the most amazing gifts of all of access consciousness classes and the specialty of talk to the entities is how much ease it can create for your body. I mean, how much energy do we have to use against ourselves and against our bodies to resist or refuse the awareness that we have?
A lot more than if we were to just be an allowance of being aware of it.
Totally. I mean, that's a fun topic of Talk to the Entities introduction and beginning classes is kind of what methods, what strategies do you have and have you been using to distract yourself from what you're actually aware of that you're refusing to be aware of?
I might need that one again. That was really good. If you can say it again the same way, I don't know if you can. Like sometimes I
Well,
run a clearing and then right afterwards I'm like, oh shoot, I can't repeat that again if I wanted to because it just is so in the flow.
yeah, yeah. Well, we all have awareness. So like you said a couple minutes ago, we teach this in the Access Consciousness bars class that what if 98% of all your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, all the stuff going on for you or your body is actually awareness? You know, who does it actually belong to? And then when we get more into that, and this is where it's so much fun to facilitate talk to the entities because we're peeling away these layers of things that we've put on top of our awareness of like maybe a point of view. How many of you guys have the point of view of I can't be aware of entities because I couldn't handle it, or it's too scary, or whatever it is? That's what we're changing and creating a different possibility in the talk to the entities classes.
Yeah. And I think it really comes down to when we're aware of something and we have a judgment about it, that's when it really sticks to us.
Totally.
Like allowance is it's like I just have been using this with a lot of my clients recently. Does your computer judge the files that you save on it? No. It has no point of view of what you save on it, what those projects are, whether you have a Word document or a bank statement or anything like that. It just stores data. And what if you could just be an allowance of everything you're aware of, like the computer is storing the data? It's not going to be impacting you because you think it's right or wrong or good or bad. It's just information that you have to make way better choices, better in air quotes, of course. You can make more informed choices if you have the data and you're looking at only the data without the projections, judgments, conclusions of what people think that data should mean.
Totally. I mean, and you just mentioned the key to freedom here, which is, what if everything is just an interesting point of view? I mean, including entities. And that's what's so much fun about the long beginning class is we're really getting into that space of what would it be like to have total allowance, and what could we create and choose from that space of allowance that isn't possible without it?
Right. And that's a great tool. Like if you are asking the question, like, who does this belong to? Oh, it's not mine. Well, interesting point of view that I would be aware of this. Or like even like we start to judge the things that we're aware of. And I think was in your class in foundation, like sometimes as a humanoid, we find ourselves in judgment of judging others, but the judgment was never ours to begin with. Our
Exactly.
the judgment we thought was ours was our awareness of that person's judgment about themselves. And then we're finding ourselves down the rabbit hole, like, oh, I can't believe I thought this about this person. Well, was that even your judgment about them in the first place? Or did you just have an awareness of how they look at themselves and they're projecting that judgment on you? And because you're not acknowledging that, hey, maybe this isn't mine, you take it on as yours, and then you start judging yourself, and then it creates this paradoxical like cycle of not wanting to be aware of stuff because you think it's yours, and then anyway. But you see where I'm going with that.
it's It's a crazy rabbit hole. And there are things too with all of this that it's like we've grown up in this kind of energy, this certain energy, and then anytime we're around that, we just kind of automatically pick it up and assume that it's ours. And what if it's not? I mean, and that's where the key to all of this is asking questions. And whether it's access consciousness or the specialty of talk to the entities is really asking a question. And I know we've talked about it on the show, but the 4 questions to, really, really empower you to create a different possibility are: what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, because that's a key one, can I change it? Right? How do I change it?
Yeah, and I would throw out there too that if you get a no to can I change it, throw out a what else is possible here. Because sometimes when we get a no on that question, I think it's our own belief that we're not capable, but I believe we are as an infinite being. And sometimes it just takes a few more questions to realize, well, what about the situation am I allowing myself to be disempowered by, to think that I don't have some sort of ability to have a different possibility. So like that, just asking what else is possible here might just open up a different door. And maybe you can't change it, but maybe you could choose different.
Truly, truly. And I mean, that just really brings up allowance again, because, allowance is such a beautiful space of possibility. And, what else is possible with allowance that we haven't considered? And allowance is where everything's an interesting point of view. And you're really the person in allowance, the rock in the stream, and all of those thoughts and ideas and beliefs and emotions and judgments just flow around you and move on and don't have any impact on you at all. And when it comes to the spirit world being in allowance, I mean, what we're talking about doing in Talk to the Entities is clearing, communicating, receiving, and cooperating. And especially in the arena of, well, actually, all 4 of those, but really dynamically, the communicating, the receiving, the cooperating is so much more possible from the space of allowance. I mean, it's just like creating with or communicating with someone who's in a body. If you're not an allowance of them, there are these disconnects, there are these projections and expectations, you know, and it's the same thing when someone doesn't have a body.
Or just being an allowance, just acknowledging that a person is there. Like, what contribution could a person be to you if you opened up a dialogue and said hello? You don't even know what gifts they might be able to offer. And so often, like, we're not open at all to allowing people into our world, partially because we're taking on all their stuff and thinking it's ours. It's not comfortable, and we're like, I don't want to deal with that. But in the space of allowance, it all becomes just raw data to make better, different, I should say, choices.
Well, yeah. And I mean, so like, let's all play with this for a minute. Like the tool we've been talking about. And if you've been to an Access Bars class, you know all about this. And it's such a dynamic tool of Access that Dr. Dain Heer, the co-creator of Access, actually has a whole YouTube playlist just devoted to this one tool. And it's who does this belong to? And so take something that's been kind of up in your world today or something going on with your body and just ask yourself, who does this belong to? And sometimes you have to ask it more than once. Like, who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? Like I before we went live, I was saying to Hank, it's been a super weird day. I'm facilitating the Access Foundation tomorrow. And the day before foundation is always super weird. It's like there's just so much awareness. So asking this question, I notice I get lighter, I get happier. And when we ask that question and it creates a space of ease and lightness for us, it's not ours to begin with. And so everything that you guys have done to buy that what you're aware of is yours. And that just because you're aware of it, it must have something to do with you. Will you destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. And that is the Access Clearing Statement. And you can discover more about it at theclearingstatement.com.
Yep. I also have a link to the well,
Yay.
it's on my page, but I have the same video embedded just talking about the clearing statement. So there's a link in the video description if you want to take a deeper dive into it and see the video from Dr. Dain Heer. There was something else with this Who Does This Belong To tool, there's also a free app you can download on Apple or iOS, all the different phones. You can download this app that will give you these little reminders throughout the day. And Dain is a big advocate of give yourself 3 days of relentless reminding to really anchor this
Yes.
tool. So like every 3 minutes, I'd be like, bing, who does this belong to? And because part of it is like anchoring these tools, stay the course. Because at the very beginning, maybe you don't have an awareness of what you know because you've just getting used to asking the questions, but continue asking the question, the awareness does come. And this is a great app to really start to anchor that tool and be the question, and then realize 98% of the stuff is not yours. And what a freedom that is when you can return it to sender with consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I did 3 days for the first time, I was actually like I knew this tool and I'd used it, and but 3 full days of just for absolutely everything, even like getting an idea of like, oh, maybe I'd like to have this for lunch, or I'd like to do this, or maybe it would be a great idea to call this person for everything. Who does this belong to? And I was shocked. I mean, really, just it was like 99,000% of everything did not belong to me. And so it gave me a greater sense of, okay, well, this is me, and this is what I desire. This is what I would like to create. And it also gave a lot of, speaking to today's topic, a lot of relaxation for my body.
Right. Some of it, I love running this clearing for myself. Like, what am I the being aware of that I'm not acknowledging, that the body's acknowledging for me? Because a lot of that tension
Mhm.
and stuff I feel is like data coming into the body because the body's like the sensory apparatus. And it's like, here you go, here's the data. And we're like, I don't want to look at it. And then like, how much tension does that create? And even like back pain or other things going on in the body. Dr. Dain was giving an example. I think he was in a supermarket and there was this little old lady who was bending down. She's like, oh, my back. And he's just like, well, is it yours? She's like, no, it's my husband's. And she just got up and the pain was gone. So like just the acknowledgement that it's not yours is enough to pop that energy imprint, that tension that the body's holding onto, and have the space for a different possibility of how you're receiving and using that information, even in the body level.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and for what is possible from a space of greater relaxation, that isn't possible when we have that tension, that refusal to relax.
Yeah. And where was I going? I just had a thought on this, but what poof? It's gone. Oh no.
Well,
Uh,
one thing that we talk about in the Talk to the Entities beginning class is that we do some exercises. We actually get some pragmatic practice with relaxing, lowering these walls and barriers that we've created or that we're buying from other people. I mean, come on, how many of us had the privilege, the honor, the pleasure of growing up with someone who was like encouraging and nurturing our awareness? Who was like, what do you know? What are you aware of? I know I didn't grow up like
no, it was more like
that.
that's all in your head. You're making that up. That's not real. That you're just pretending. And
Totally.
we don't
You're
necessarily
creative
know
and
anybody.
fanciful.
Right. And there's other times like with my kids, we would play games, like we'd be sitting on the porch or whatever, and we'd be like, okay, well, what color is the next car going to be? And we would like start tuning in and like developing like psychic tools or just awareness tools. I don't like the word psychic tools. Like what do you know? Ooh, that's maybe where I was going. Like, what are you uh, really a key question for all these things too is like, what do you know versus what are you being projected on in terms of what people think you should know or be or do in the world? Because we were taught to empower other people's judgments over our own knowing. And that is like a real key as we dive into these questions, like really like, what do you truly know about this? Not what do you think you know, what were you taught to know, but what do you know? Because but one of the big things with access is we empower people to know that they know and to trust and follow and go with their knowing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, it was so funny just a couple minutes ago. Like, what were you told growing up? that you couldn't have your awareness.
Or on the flip side, what weren't you told that if you had been told could have changed everything and how you use your awareness with total ease and everything that is destroyed and created. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. And Debbie was just making a comment on another stream that I do with Dr. K. When I have those little brain things and my idea goes poof, someone started typing it's poof the magic dragon. So she says, there goes the dragon, laugh out loud. But I had to create context because I don't think I've ever used that on the stream with you. But it's like it just off it goes. But speaking of, since someone did just make a comment, I have the banner up now. Comments and questions are always welcome. If you're just listening and you haven't been looking at the screen and don't know that you could type a question or type a comment to help direct the conversation, the possibility, please feel free to. We love going down the rabbit holes from the questions that you guys ask. So really, what else is possible? Let's see. I think there was a question from the other day, but I'm going to look it up real quick. Heather, what about a cool clearing for like entering into relaxation with the body? Why look
Well,
at
what
see
would
if I
be
have a question.
possible? What would be possible from greater relaxation that is impossible now? I mean, what whispers of the universe would you be able to hear? What would you become aware of that you are unwilling to be aware of? And everything that is, will you destroy it and create it all?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
And I did find the question. This was on a different stream, but we were talking about access tools. And this question I think would be relevant for everybody on this stream too. But when we're talking about how does it get better than this, who does this belong to? If you have somebody, I'll read the question verbatim. How do you apply these teachings with a situation where one is literally immobilized with MS or ALS, external situations that take away so many choices from the individual? So like really like people who are at a point where they feel so victimized by the world, like what tool would we have for them to implement these things to maybe give them a little bit more traction to get the tools to work for them if they're in a place where they don't feel they have any choice or control?
That's a very specific situation that I would recommend a personal facilitation with an access consciousness certified facilitator. So find someone that you like who can really dive into that, because there's some incredible resources and tools in the access consciousness reference materials, in the access consciousness classes that can assist with that, but that's a very specific situation. One place I would start is with the 4 questions. What is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how do I change it? And another place I would begin to open the door to some change is, how many conclusions have I already come to about this?
Yeah. And if it is somebody that is at a place where they really don't feel that they have a lot of change or possibility, one question I would ask is, what would it take for me to desire true change more than I don't? And then pot and pock everything that doesn't allow that, because they might just need to start tipping the scale to even want. Because if someone doesn't truly desire change, it can be a really uphill battle. And for the people around them, the question is, what space and invitation could I be for them to step into a different possibility? Because you can't force change, but you can invite it. And so that would be like for the people around those people, that would be a key thing. Angela was asking, in terms of children and entities and awareness, like what are more ways to encourage our children?
I would say to empower your children with questions. Ask them questions. What do you know? What are you aware of? What would you really like to create?
And they'll surprise you sometimes when you ask that question and you get like their pure answer. Like I asked Max, what would you like to be when you grow up? And he's like, happy. And I'm like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
such a great answer. Like most of the time kids would be like firefighter or, police officer or whatnot. But when like you really are in the space of question, like, whoa, look, I'm putting beingness first. And that is such a huge thing. Like who could you be? And then how to express that being through the reality that you create for yourself. Cool, cool. Any other little empowerments? No, I think that's really, we probably could dedicate a whole stream just for children, actually, if now that I'm kind of thinking
Oh,
about
that's
it.
such a beautiful topic. I would love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're right at the 20-minute mark, and I know we were planning to kind of keep things more wrapped up. How are you feeling? Or is there anything else that's kind of burning to come up to really empower change in terms of relaxation, especially as it relates to entities?
What are you aware of? And what would it take to open to that awareness?
In the space of allowance and non-judgment. Awesome. Oh, there's two more comments. Let's see. Well, one, oh, my cousin Anna is giving us a virtual hug. Thank you so much. And then Angela was just saying, oh my goodness, that was a beautiful answer from your son. Yes, it was. And children, when they are really faced with that, like a true just question, they give like a really authentic, honest answer. Have you ever seen that Bill Cosby? Well, it was before Bill Cosby was something else. It was called like Kids Say the Darndest Things. Did you ever see that? Oh, and it's just like really just the brutal honesty of children is kind of refreshing in a lot of ways and very cute. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday at some point in time. I highly recommend please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you'll get all the notifications when we're going live. I see most of the people today are watching on YouTube. Thank you so much. A couple people on Facebook. There is a link to the YouTube channel in the video description. You can really help us spread the contagion of consciousness by liking, sharing, commenting on the videos over there. Any final words of wisdom or clearing, Heather?
No, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Oh, as long as I find the right video here. Here we go.